All right, so are you ready for a deep dive today? We're taking a trip down memory lane, especially
Oh,
for those listeners who wrote in and requested a bit of nostalgia.
always up for a good nostalgia trip.
This one's all about Jamaican currency,
Uh-huh.
and we're really going back.
Oh, wow. Okay. Like way back to the days before we had dollars and cents.
You got it. Now we could go all the way back to like the Taino barter system,
Right.
which, by the way, is super interesting stuff.
Right.
But to really capture that nostalgia, we're going to be focusing on what? The shift from the British pounds to our own Jamaican currency.
Yeah. Makes sense. A lot of our listeners probably remember that. I know it felt like a big deal.
Absolutely. Big time. Okay, so picture this. It's the 1950s. Jamaica is like buzzing with that post-war energy.
Right.
You're heading to the shop, and your pocket's full of, what? Shillings and pence.
And maybe a farthing or two rattling around in there.
Exactly. For our listeners who lived through those times, tell me this doesn't take you back. The article we're looking at from the Jamaica Information Service, it says that back then, a 5-shilling shop, your 5 shillings could barely like cover all your purchases.
Really?
Yeah, 5 shillings got you flour, rice, your cooking oil, all the essentials.
Wow. And probably still had some change left over at that point.
Right. It's crazy. I mean,
Oh,
can you imagine that now? It's mind-blowing if you even try to think about today's prices.
Oh, for sure. The value of money has definitely changed a lot. Speaking of which, the article mentioned something kind of funny.
Okay, what's that?
Like, remember those penny candies back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they did the math. Turns out a penny candy back then would be like, get this, $20 today.
Get out of here. No way.
Wait.
That's wild. All right, well, hold on. Before we spiral down that inflation rabbit hole, let's maybe break down this whole pounds, shillings, and pence thing, for those of us who might need a refresher or two.
It's a mouthful, that's for sure. I'll admit, dollars and cents are a little easier to wrap your head around.
Just a tad. So seriously, how did that even work?
All right, so picture it like this. You had your pounds at the top. 1 pound was equal to 20 shillings. Then each shilling was divided into 12 pence. And just for fun, they threw in farthings, which were like quarter pennies.
Wait, so you had to be like a math whiz to go grocery shopping back then, or what?
Pretty much. Imagine trying to do those calculations in your head at the market, right? No wonder everyone's so good at mental math.
I know, right? Makes you think. But what could you even get for a farthing? Like, I mean, we're talking fractions of a penny here.
Professor Powell, who they quoted in this article, he remembers back in the day you could get a tiny candy. They called it a paradise plum for a single farthing.
Paradise plum, what is that?
Basically a little mint ball, but yeah, that was the kind of treat you could swing on a farthing budget.
Wow. Paradise plum. Okay, well, that definitely puts things into perspective. We've come a long way from those days.
It really does, from farthings to having our own currency, like a whole new era.
Totally. It really makes you think about, like, money's not just numbers. Right?
Definitely not.
It's like a statement. It's about who we are.
100%.
And that takes us to 1969.
Big year.
Huge year.
Yeah.
Jamaica goes decimal, and boom, the Jamaican dollar is born.
What a moment. Right. The article talks about how much thought they put into everything.
Oh, I bet. Every little detail.
Yeah, like out with the Queen's image on the money and in with like all the Jamaican symbols.
It's like they were saying, this is us. This is Jamaica.
Exactly. And of course, they put some of our national heroes on there too, which I'm sure got people even more fired up.
I bet. Go hold those first Jamaican dollar bills. That must have been something else.
I can only imagine. And you know who was on the $1 note, right?
Tell me.
Sir Alexander Bustamante, Jamaica's very first prime minister. What a powerful symbol, don't you think?
Absolutely. Like holding a piece of history right there in your hand.
Mm.
So we've got Bustamante on the dollar. Who else graced those first banknotes?
They really chose people who represented what Jamaica's about, Like on the $2 note, there was Paul Bogle.
Another name I'm familiar with, remind me.
He was all about fighting for social justice for everyday Jamaicans.
Right. I knew that. It's like each choice had meaning behind it.
Totally. And speaking of powerful figures, on the $10 note, they had George William Gordon.
Another national hero. He was a big advocate for the Jamaican people too, right?
Right. So the banknotes, they were like a who's who of inspiring figures.
They really were. Okay, but what about the coins? What did they do for those?
The coins were interesting. They went for more of a nature vibe, like the 25-cent coin. They had the Dr. Bird on it, or national bird.
Oh, right, with the long tail feathers. Gorgeous.
Exactly. Beautiful bird. I remember those coins.
It's like carrying a little piece of Jamaica with you. Okay, what about the other coins? What images did they choose for those?
Well, they had the blue maho tree on the 20-cent piece.
Which is our national tree, right?
Yep. Known for its beautiful wood. And then for the 10-cent coin, they went with the lignum vitae, our national flower.
Okay, lignum vitae, also known as
Wood of life.
Mhm.
Because it's so strong, so resilient. Fitting, right?
Love it. I'm sensing a theme here. So much meaning packed into these early coins. Now, what about the 1 cent? What did they put on the littlest guy?
Had to represent, right? It was the ackee fruit.
Of course, our national fruit. Ackee and saltfish. Anyone. Okay, so I love reminiscing about these old designs as much as anyone, but we both know that things change, especially when it comes to currency. So what came next in this evolution of Jamaican money?
Well, things really started changing in the 70s and 80s. We got some new faces, new denominations, all reflecting how much Jamaica was growing. Like, we got the $5 note, and that featured national hero Norman Manley.
Okay, yeah, big figure in Jamaica's history for sure.
Mhm.
And alongside those new faces, I'm guessing we needed some higher denominations too to keep up with everything,
Right, exactly. So along came the $20 note.
making its grand entrance. But those weren't the only changes, right? I feel like this era also saw some, design shakeups too, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, remember how they replaced the 50-cent note with a coin? The one with Marcus Garvey on it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It felt like a pretty big deal at the time.
Right, like we were moving on from those earlier designs.
Exactly. So, okay, we've got new faces, bigger denominations, some design makeovers. Did it stop there?
Not even close. We were just getting started. The denominations kept on climbing. Next thing you know, boom, we've got the $100 note.
And who graced the $100 note?
That one featured Donald Sangster, our second prime minister.
Okay, yeah, keeping it moving through Jamaica's prime ministers. Love it. What about beyond the $100 note? Did they stop there?
Nope, not at all. We also got the $50 note featuring national hero Samuel Sharp. And get this, they even replaced the $1 note with a coin.
Wow, so things are really changing now, huh? What's the thinking behind that? Replacing the $1 note.
Well, I think it shows how the economy was growing. You need those higher denominations to keep pace with everything.
Right, makes total sense. But with all these new notes and coins coming out, was there one that really, stuck with people? One that really resonated?
Oh, absolutely. In 1994, they introduced the $500 note featuring Nanny of the Maroons.
Nanny. Now we're talking.
Right. It became instantly iconic. People didn't even call it the $500 note anymore. It was just a nanny.
Just hand me a nanny, will ya? I love it. Only in Jamaica. You know it's big when the banknote earns itself a nickname? But even Nanny, she couldn't escape the march of time forever, right? I mean, designs change, technology changes.
Exactly. Even icons get makeovers. And that's what happened as we headed into the late 90s, right? Most of those older coins, they got redesigned for better security, to make them last longer.
Right, keep those coins fresh.
And that's when we got that brand new $10 coin, the one with the, serrated edge, the one we still use today.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's funny how those little design details stick with you.
I know, right? It's like
Right.
a little piece of history.
Totally. But Jamaica's story with currency, it doesn't end there, right?
Definitely not. Because as we get into the 21st century, things get even bigger.
Okay, what do we see happening?
Well, in the year 2000, we got the $1,000 note, and that one featured Michael Manley.
Wow. Okay, so the denominations are really climbing now. $1,000.
Yeah.
And did they keep going?
They did. Not too long after, they brought in the $5,000 note, this time with Hugh Shearer on it.
Wow. Talk about a glow up. From farthings to $5,000 notes. That's quite the journey. But you mentioned earlier that they've redesigned even the most recent notes, right? So, what's the story behind that? What prompted them to go back and revamp everything?
Well, it's a bunch of reasons, really. One, technology is always changing, especially when it comes to, preventing counterfeits. So
Yeah.
they want to stay ahead of the game. Plus, as time goes on, some denominations just aren't as useful anymore. So it's about being practical, too.
Right, got to keep things running smoothly.
Exactly. But I think the biggest reason, at least from what I've read, is that these redesigns, they're a chance for Jamaica to kind of reintroduce itself,
I love that. It's like a national self-portrait, always evolving.
Exactly. So on the $50 note, it's not just one person anymore. Now you've got both Paul Bogle and George William Gordon together.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Together on the same note, that's really powerful.
Right. It's like acknowledging that fight for justice, even if they went about it in different ways.
Exactly. Acknowledging that shared goal, even if the paths were different. Really cool. What about the $500 note? Any changes there?
They kept Nanny, of course, but now she's joined by Samuel Sharp, the dynamic duo fighting for freedom.
Oh, wow, what a pair. Strong, resilient. I love it. Okay, what about those higher denominations, the 1,000?
The 1000 is really interesting. Now you've got Bustamante and Manly side by side.
Wow, the two founding fathers together at last.
Right. It's a bold statement, don't you think? Acknowledging that they represented different visions for Jamaica, but both were crucial in their own way.
Absolutely. And what about the brand new $2,000 note? Who gets that honor?
That one goes to Prime Ministers Michael Manley and Edward Seaga.
Another powerful pairing. Wow, it's amazing how these simple pieces of paper or coins can hold so much history, so much meaning.
It really is. And how they can spark such interesting conversations, too, about our values, our past, the people we choose to honor. It's fascinating.
It really is. And for our listeners out there, we want to hear from you. What are your memories of Jamaican currency? What designs have stuck with you throughout the years? How about you? Have you ever stopped to think about the stories behind the money in your pocket? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep those brain gears turning.